Hey everybody, this is Minesh and welcome to Modernizing Biz podcast. This show is all about business, marketing, and entrepreneurship, where I interview some of the greatest minds from around the globe who will share their experience with you, and that's how we're gonna help you in modernizing your biz for free. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Modernizing Biz podcast. On this episode, we have Sidharth, who is designing a product head out, and he's a TEDx speaker. He has given two TED talks, and apart from that, he have done a lot of speaking events in 40 plus colleges. Apart from that, he talk about career, startups, design. He is also a YouTuber and a podcaster. So I'm so grateful to have him on to my podcast. Hi Siddharth, how you doing?
Hey Manish, I'm doing great. How are you doing? Thanks for having me over the podcast.
I'm super good, man. So, bro, tell us a bit about yourself. Like, where are you from? What you've been doing?
So I started, I've lived in a lot of places, including Himachal. Was born in this place called Renukut. Then I lived in Chandigarh for a bit, in Delhi. Then finally, Bombay, and now Bangalore. So lived in a lot of places, and I've always been interested in technology. Always been interested in art, both. And somewhere down the line, I started, learning in 10th. Started learning programming, started picking up a bunch of computers. Then I realized this something called design. And by the time I was in 11th grade, I had my first freelance client for design. It's because I was learning, so I thought, why not try to make some money off of it?
Mhm.
So that's when I
Yeah,
started learning.
yeah.
Okay, there, you can make money, you can learn skill sets online, you can use internet for your own education. And then I realized there's much bigger career to be made on the internet than what the other people were looking at in their life. Given I was growing up in a very small town, to give you an idea, I was studying in the Himachal board in this small place called Baddi in Himachal, and in eighth grade
Okay.
they teach you opposites in English, hot and
Yeah.
cold. That is the eighth class, right? So the
Yeah.
level of exposure and everything is very low, but internet really helps there. So I started, I used to go to travel around to get to internet, go to cyber cafes to learn things, to try out different things. So that's how the internet interest kept going up, and finally I got my freelance client. Then I learned about startups. Then I joined a startup accelerator as an entrepreneur in residence. Started working with a bunch of startups. Meanwhile, college started and dropped out after 1 year, and then finally worked with Instamojo. If you've heard, I was part of this founding team,
Yeah.
and I was with Instamojo for 6 years.
Yeah.
And just to about 1.5 years back, I joined Head Out to head design and product here. Just wanted to change the challenge I was taking on. So, in brief, that is the story journey that I've had.
Fabulous, man. You have been like really done a great job. You like at the 11th standard, you figure out and you created your path towards building your own brand. So, bro, I've been consuming your content, whether it's coming from Instagram or
Uh
YouTube,
huh.
from like a couple of months. From that moment, I just got to know that I want you to be on to my podcast. I wanted to have a conversation with
Hey,
you.
thank you.
First, I wanted to know how you come up with this thing of king,
Right.
like a Raja you have been using. Yeah.
So I remember when Orkut used to be a social network. Then Facebook started coming around. I was in around ninth or 10th grade back then, and you had to wait or have a friend in US university who could send you an invite so you could make a Facebook account. So I remember me and my friend kind of got access
Yeah.
together, and I did not have a computer back then at home, so the friend was creating an account. And back then we were doing a play in school,
Okay.
related to, like, it was a satire play. We were just playing kings and queens, and we used to address each other as that in the class just to get in the character. So the friend didn't know my last name,
Yeah.
so went with King Sidharth. And I used to try, years later I would try, like 1-2 years later I would try handed blogging, and that's where the personal brand really started. And I would use different pen names for blogging. I had like around 15 pen names for different topics. This one started to stick around a lot, especially with foreign clients, because for them it's very easier to probably to pronounce in Siddharth, or to figure out how that Indian name is pronounced. And in India as well, it stuck around with people. And I started realizing that I can't get rid of this name. I tried different brand names. I just could not get rid of this one. People remember this one. So over time, it has just stuck around to be a really good brand name. I find the username everywhere,
Yeah.
and it people should look at it like a pen name, like an online name, right? It just works. So for those two reasons, because it's memorable, and as a person who's dealing with personal brands, you will know how important that is. It's unique. If you search for it, the SEO has been like, since a decade I've been doing that. Some people, I think Big Boss has some, every now and then gets a Sidharth, and they start tweeting. People start tweeting or using social media around that, using the term King Sidharth. But still, Google, whether it's you Google for that term or look for on social media, I end up being the top result almost always, because just been decades of content behind it. So that's how that
Yeah.
emerged, and it was not a choice really. And kind of like I tried different names, and this market decided that this is what sticks around. So here we are.
Okay. Amazing, man. Fabulous. Tell me a bit about your journey and at what point of time you have gotten spark inside you that, man, I want to build my own personal brand.
So there's no one single point you realize, right? Today you have access to a lot more personal people talking about personal brand. Like, let's say you have a podcast where you talk about, talk to people about personal brand, or you are aware of personal brand. So the awareness is very high,
Yeah.
right? Back then, when I was starting to blog, or I was starting to put out content, I wasn't really thinking about creating a personal brand, to be honest. I was just it was just fun.
Okay.
It was just a lot of fun to create content. I just wanted to create a lot of blog, a lot of topics. But what I started to realize immediately is that there is value to brand, because I started learning about design and psychology, and learned a bit about marketing. And you start to realize that if you want to charge more, brand is important. And then people refer to you by a specific name. So much so that on specific freelance site, I had a specific username, and people would talk to each other and go like, look for this username. So you start to realize the
Okay.
importance of
Yeah.
brand online, and you start to realize that it's effective, it's working, right? Content is working. And over time, this would become clear to me that a lot of people I found online, or people who have been blogging or have online persona since ages and ages. I'm talking about like 1990s, right? When the internet just got started, they've been blogging since then. Like, blogging is really old, right? Podcasting is also almost that old, as radio. So
Yeah.
that's when you start to realize that these are not new concepts, but there are new ways you can continue to interpret them, right? Then that happened on YouTube, then that happened on Instagram, then we watched we saw that happening on TikTok, right? We see it everywhere, that there
Yeah.
is value in personal brand. So much so, like, if you remember this Gaurav Gera, who started doing like Snapchat, with Billy Auntie and this thing. That was one of the first comic characters,
Yeah.
comedians who took away from, waiting for somebody to cast him in a serial or a show, or give him a show, or like become a stand-up. Just start creating your own character, and all these tools made it, all these tools in our pocket make it super easy to create content and create a persona out there. And I think that also brings us to like how I define personal brand, which is personal brand is around, a brand is a promise in the end, right? An expectation that you set.
Okay.
Tomorrow you go out in the market and you buy Philips something or Cadbury chocolate, because you know what the taste will be like. There's a quality, there's a standard. There's a promise that that it will taste like this, it will taste like that. For example, Slice and Maza taste very different, right?
Yeah.
And you
Exactly.
associate those differences with the taste, and they have a trademarks on those flavors. So similar way in personal brand, the kind of topics you talk about, the way you talk about them, the kind of things that will bother you, or the kind of things you will encourage, right, will be very unique, even in the same niche. Say if tomorrow I start a podcast on personal
Yeah.
brand, don't worry, Manish, I'm not start planning to, but if I start, a podcast on
No
personal
worries.
brand, the kind of things they'll talk about are very different, right? So much so that that is
Yeah.
where you start to see a collaboration happening, right? The same guest, often I do that. Like, if I like a personality, if I like a comedian, or if I want, or if I like any persona. Let's say I started liking interviews of Raghuram Rajan. I watched his interviews on same topics from different people, right? Especially because
Okay. Yeah.
different interviewers will take ask him different questions, will have a different nuance, and that's where you start to see personal brand on both sides emerge, right? As you start to like some certain
Yeah.
anchors, and you want to watch more interviews by them because they're fun. And there's a personal brand of Raghuram Rajan. And why is it there? Because there's a value I'm expecting in terms of content. And that's how most personal brands are created today, by putting out in creating and putting out content regularly. And I don't mean to say regularly by sticking to the calendar. I am not that great at that as well. It really helps. It shows results, but the important part is to do
Yeah.
it consistently, right? It is important that you put out content The fact that you put it out there and in your name around the topics that interest you, rather than the fact that you do it consistently. I run ahead of myself and our schedule of question, but like, yeah, just to give a brief, like, that's where it started for me. I started realizing that it has gotten me my next job. It has gotten me so many interesting startup people that I've met. So much of network comes
Mm.
from there. So many people, and biggest of all, my hiring channel is all because of personal brand, right? All people that
Okay.
we have hired in my team have approached me or have come across some sort of content, right? Who were impressed by it. So that is where it comes down to. Of course, there are exceptions, one and two here and there, but majority of the hiring that I've done through my career
Yeah.
has been because of personal brand.
Amazing, man. So, in which year you have started?
I think it's really hard to put a year down. So because as far as I can remember, I got internet access in. I started going to cyber cafes around, let's say, 2000, year 2000. So I've started putting content around around that time, but that doesn't count
Oh
really.
my God.
That really doesn't count because we,
Okay.
we were doing personal stuff, right? Like you were putting photos of some art and craft and god, I don't even know. But let's talk about the current persona that I have today, the current avatar of King Sidharth that you see today online. How old is that, right? The oldest article you will find
Yeah.
on my blog 64 notes is from 2011, right? So in 2020 it's been
Amazing.
about 9 years of me consistently putting out content. I've been writing on that blog since 2011. So yeah, 9 years in this
Good.
avatar of this personal brand.
Amazing, man. How was your experience? Like, what do you think? Will you can survive after, like, if you don't have a choice, if you don't want to put out content, will you going to survive or not?
It's very interesting you asked that, because in that 9 year time span, there was a period of time, especially Instamojo early years, when I was so busy heads down working that there was no time to create content. And there are times like that. And kind of I like stopped caring, to be very honest, for a while, because I knew I was working on something extraordinary and what impact it was having and what money
Yeah.
company was making on the work we were doing. So don't look for validation there, and that's when I started to realize that I don't want to create content for validation anymore. It took me a long while to come back, so I took a long break. There are two things that I realized. A, there is audience which follows you and continues to remind you that they look forward to blog posts from you, even though it's been 2 years, three
Yeah.
years,
No matter what.
right? Even after 2, 3 years, they will expect still to write you. They will still encourage you. So there is love from audience there because they found some value in what you had done. And it when you stop, it does take a toll. It does take a toll in terms of starting again. If I had continued to do, let's say, a blog post every month, which I wasn't able to do, right? Which is the flaw, my next goal that I want to, challenge myself to do. Then that's why YouTube and podcasting and everything. That do something, but do it long term, consistent, right? You will continue to break your schedule. You will continue to like go like, oh damn, I forgot about it. But go back again, start again, right? And start again sooner than last time.
Yeah.
So that becomes a habit, right? That happened with YouTube. That's happening with podcasts, and I'm guessing it will happen with everywhere. So I would
Yeah.
highly suggest that there will come times where you need to take a break. Do take a break. Prioritize your mental health above everything else. But the kind of solace now I get, from creating content and sharing with other people, because I'm not doing it for validation anymore, because my validation comes from my work elsewhere,
Okay.
right? It's just very fulfilling, right? It's really
Cool.
I would suggest,
So,
like, do the video or make the video or make the podcast episode that you would want to listen to yourself, and don't care if there's
exactly.
like 5 people listening or 50 people listening, because you never know, maybe out of those 5 people, that one person who listened, their life changed. But the 50 people there's a person who 50 people listening to that person's podcast, but they don't really care or follow that person's advice much, right? So I would rather have those five. I would rather have a personal brand who has those 5 followers who follow, or like do the things, or make a change in their life because of my content, rather than 50 followers who just kind of like, yeah, it looks interesting.
And do you also think, man, like we need to build our own personal brand around the passion that we have? Because you have touched this point when we don't need to care about the numbers of views or the
Hmm.
listeners. So I guess, according to me, like one should always build their personal brand around their
True.
passion. If they are not doing it, like there's no point. What do you
True,
think?
I agree with that. However, interesting thing that I found in my own life, and as I help other people, build their personal brand, or I look at them, building it. One thing you have to make peace with is that you will evolve as a person, right? And a lot of people feel
Yeah.
conflicted, right? That I've been making content around, let's say, podcasting or personal brand since a year, but now I'm getting interested in, I don't know, digital marketing. I don't know, I'm getting interested in podcasting more, or helping other people set up any
Mhm.
interest. And that evolution happens multiple times, because you're not a company, right? Like, you're not Apple who launched and, okay, iPod failed, so
Yeah.
you launch another type, you launch an iPad or try something else, right? A company's mission statement does not
Mhm.
change as frequently as a human being's personal statement does. You may become completely disinterested in this tomorrow and start talking about very different kind of content, and that's fine, right? So you got to make peace with the fact that
Okay.
the passion is beyond a topic, right? The passion is the fact
Mhm.
that you like. I want you to find passion in creating content about anything, right?
Mhm.
That I think is more sustainable. Like, if you like recording podcasts, if you like making, I love making YouTube videos. Like, I have so much fun making YouTube
Okay.
videos that at times I forget that it's 4 a.m. in the morning and I've been working on one small piece, right?
Oh my God.
Because it's so interesting, right?
Yeah, this is happening with me
So
podcast.
that's when you don't care about it, right? And that's where as long as the topic
Mhm.
is of my interest, you want to keep the topics in your interest. Not necessarily, you may not have figured out your passion, but that shouldn't stop you from creating content. Let's say I'm a person, let's say you're listening in to this podcast and you do not know what your passion is, you've not
Mhm.
figured that out, and you're trying to figure out what should my personal brand be around. I have wonderful news for you, that your personal brand could be how I figured out my passion. And since you don't know it, you start documenting it now. Let's say you start a YouTube series, right, or a podcast series. Every month you try a new skill,
Mhm.
you try to learn it, you try to implement it, and then you make a series of videos or podcasts on that topic, right? This is what I tried, this is what I tried. And if you're not even able to get yourself to learn a skill and
Okay.
try it and make a YouTube video about it, probably you're not going to approach it as a profession or a passion, right? It will show. All you
Mhm.
have to do is just try it for a month, and there'll be one topic suddenly that will stick one day,
Okay.
and you will go like, sorry, I'm not going to continue this format, we are changing, and we're going to do another episode on that topic. Then we're going to do another and you will naturally realize that you have
Mhm.
found your niche, right? You found what people call your interest. So that is how I think about it. Theme, keep your interest around it. Passion, find a format that
Mhm.
inspires you, right? Is it Instagram stories, is it comics, is it written poetry, is it drawing something, is it making music, is it just talking to camera on YouTube video, making vlog style content, doing characters. Find one way of expressing
Mhm.
that you're very happy and passionate about, and the topic that are in your mind that you're interested in will naturally come to you. If nothing else, make content about the best content that you see. Every day, every week, you're
Okay.
going to curate a list of best post, and like, get a screenshot and tag those people, right? You can do that on Instagram, that most inspiring
Cool.
post from this week.
Yeah.
So whatever you're learning, other people are
Mhm.
interested in that too. So if you have nothing else figured out, make a personal brand around curiosity. My personal brand is, I spent 5 years figuring out online in front of everyone
Mhm.
what I want to do in life, and that's a brilliant personal brand. So many people
Okay.
want to listen to that story.
Amazing, man. You have totally changed my
Uh-huh.
perspective. Like, even I have heard about documenting our own life, but I never think in this
Right.
way that we can even like put out our story that what we are struggling
Correct.
to.
And think about it. Like, tomorrow, if somebody is listening to this podcast, right, and the moment they hear that line, what if you have not figured out your passion? And many people can figure that, right?
Mhm.
This say so many people who have not found their passion. There were times when I don't feel like
Mhm.
I have found my passion, right? And that's a different subject altogether. But
Yeah.
all of us go through that, in some way or the other. And that content that you will
Mhm.
create at that moment will be authentic, right? You will have genuine curiosity, you will have genuine
Mhm.
frustration, right? And that is what we like about live streams,
Okay.
that is what we like about vlogging. That is why we like these new format like TikTok, because it's harder to fake things,
Yeah.
right, in live.
Yeah. It's totally raw.
So that is why people enjoy that. People watch longer live sessions. And if you have a live session, my
Yeah.
friend is just starting this new he does streaming on programming, coding on his Twitch. He's going to create a YouTube channel soon. What he is going to do is invite in big
Okay.
engineers, like talented engineers from big companies or smaller companies who are very talented but not
Mhm.
known, and ask them to teach him something on the stream. And in the 90 minutes on the stream, he will learn that and try to implement it in front of everyone,
Oh my God.
right? And what a
Oh my
brilliant
God.
idea,
Yeah.
right? What a brilliant idea to create
Literally.
content. So you have friends,
Mhm.
they have talent. If nothing else, I would start there. Let me start a show where I feature my friends and their talent, and then their friends and their talent, and then their friends and their talent, and the word will spread. We need talent
Cool.
shows, all these,
Gotcha.
right? Like India's Got Talent. We
Mhm.
can have like local versions of that. Like all of you listening in whichever city you're in, if you're in Indore, if you're in Ahmedabad, if you're in Nashik, if you're in Mumbai, wherever you are, right, you can start, that city's got talent, that village has got talent, or the town has got talent, and host people just from that. Like there
Yeah.
are enough people in that thing, in that place, that you can run a show for like 5 years and have episodes every other day, right? There's so
Mhm.
much talent around you, and if you haven't figured out your own talent, invite other people who you think are talented, and let the world see, right, who you think is talented.
And I did think this way, but I guess I'm following the same
Right,
process because I want to jump into the business and entrepreneurship
right,
world. Okay, I'm very curious about
right.
that, but I don't know from where should I start.
Correct,
Cool. I've just completed my graduation. Now, what I'm doing, I'm interviewing, like having a conversation, all these people to whom, like, I adore the most, like to whom I want to do my business
right.
with. So I guess even I'm doing the same process.
That's a very good point of
Yeah.
self-awareness. I really want to highlight that, because
Mhm.
you've hit upon a gold mine there. Brilliantly put, Manish. That what is that helping you do is
Okay.
network, right, with like-minded people, and
Exactly.
sort of. And the
Mhm.
biggest thing you will realize years later, Manish, you will probably know it today because you're doing it so consciously, but you will realize the impact
Mhm.
of it only
Mhm.
years to come, where that the audience you're building right now with this, the distribution as we call it in the
Mhm.
industry, is invaluable.
Mhm.
And the faster you start building personal distribution, you get luckier in life, right? That is another reason to build personal brand. If you want to be lucky in life, you need
Cool.
personal brand. Why? How do I know? You could be the most talented person, okay? You could be the best comedian, better than
Yeah.
Kapil Sharma or any other comedians we like. You could be the better
Mhm.
actor than best actors. You could be a better singer than our most popular singer. But
Mhm.
I would not know if you are not out there. How would I know? Right?
Yeah.
No God
Wow.
will appear in my
Exactly. You've
dream.
not marketed yourself.
Right? And
Mhm.
most people believe that talent is equal to success online. Okay, in personal brand.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that is the harsh truth. Is that is not true. That is not true at all. Because if that
Okay.
was true, then the best talent would continue to like always be discovered. Every day we will discover new talent online. We know so many personally, so many
Mhm.
artists who are better than the bigger artists we know, right? We know so many podcasts that need way more listeners, or this thing. We know so many YouTubers who are
Yeah.
undervalued, right? They should have like so many more subscribers. And so internet is
Mhm.
not fair in that sense, right? And virality takes time. People who have gone viral, they've been at it for years, right? People who you see million
Literally.
followers on Instagram, they did not start today. They had all the struggles you had. Like when I started my Instagram content creation and YouTube channel, I struggled with everything.
Mhm.
What do I put out there? What will people even want to like? You can see my struggle through my content as well if you scroll down the feed. Same with YouTube. If you watch my first
Yeah.
video, I am very scared. And I'm telling myself, boss, you have given two TEDx talks. Okay, you have spoken in front of thousands of students. There's no one here. There's just a dumb camera and you can't talk in front of it. But you can't, because all of us go through that
Exactly.
exact step. All of us go
Yeah.
through that fear. And my agenda in my life is that
Mhm.
in my personal brand, one thing I want to be consistent about, that I continue to challenge every
Mhm.
6 months or a year to try a new format, to challenge myself to do something completely different. So earlier,
Cool.
about 6 months back, 8 months back, I started my YouTube channel, and about 6 months, 3ish months back after this lockdown, I started live streaming. And I love live streaming, and I love taking some of that content and making a podcast out of it, or making YouTube highlight videos or Instagram videos about it. So
Mhm.
yep, sorry we diverged, but you had a beautiful point there, coming back to it, that what you're doing here is
Mhm.
exactly that: practicing, building a network, building a distribution, and adding to your ideas
Yeah.
and exposure and how to think about it.
Exactly, man. So, bro, can you put out few more advantages that personal brand
For
holds
sure.
itself? Because I know, like,
We'll
yeah.
continue to
Go
uncover
ahead.
it, but what I really want you to think about is that in future careers, the
Mhm.
career like we know them to be is not going to be the case. We can already see educational institutes struggling in this new post-COVID world. uh, Students are starting to challenge
Mhm.
how much they are charging, given they are not providing any hostel, any
Yeah.
infra, any of these facilities. In fact, students are having to manage
Mhm.
electricity, internet, everything, right? And they continue to push
Yeah.
their old agenda. Just recently, I got an invite from a school who wanted to charge 250 rupees to student for a event online, and I'm like, I'm sorry, like you do not have any sense of how much who can charge 250 rupees online. Like big comedians charge 250 rupees
Yeah.
online, right? I'm sorry, but that is not, that's not the scale of economy we are at. That monopoly is going to break. As the monopoly breaks, you will see the old jobs, the safe
Okay.
jobs will go away. In fact, the new jobs will not be stable. One degree
Mhm.
will not be enough to carry forward through a job. Our parents, at least
Mhm.
our grandparents, of you listening in, if you ask them if they were doing a job, they were in one or two companies throughout their life. Throughout their life.
Yeah.
Versus us, our generation changes companies every
Mhm.
6 months, 1 year. Right? Completely opposite.
Yeah, they have tons
And
of experience.
in our generation, like if in their generation, if you were an engineer, you were a proud engineer and you did engineering all your life. In our generation, engineer is sitting in the sales call, and sales people who have no engineering background are learning programming and becoming programmers, right? Because democratization of
Yeah,
education,
it happens.
that is going to have massive consequences of future
Mhm.
careers. Which means if you want a above mediocre income, right, or above mediocre career in any industry,
Mhm.
right, you will need a personal brand. You will
Mhm.
need to be known in the industry for giving some sort of value. And the more you do that, like we spoke, the luckier you get. Why
Okay.
you get luckier? Because more people know you. What that does is, if they think about a problem statement and they know you solve those kind of problems, they'll approach you. If Manish continues to talk about podcast on his Instagram, then the moment you hear about podcast somewhere else, you will think of Manish, right? And that is how brand works, right? If I want you to
Yeah.
think about me from design and startup point of view, I need to appear on your feed at least 100 times a
Mhm.
year talking about design, product, and startups. That's when that brand happens, right? Because you will know me, and that's how
Mhm.
opportunities will come my way, because people will remember me. Brands, big brands, okay, all these big brands spend crores of rupees on showing you ads where you can't click and buy anything. Why? Conditioning, brand, trust, right? Paytm sponsored IPL. For what?
Mhm.
They did not even, you could not even download app in that much time
Yeah.
they got the time slot for. Because Indian Janta thinks that now they have sponsored
Yeah.
cricket, the company is here to stay. It won't go anywhere, we can trust it. Brand, right? So brand is such a trust factor.
Mhm.
Brand is going to
True.
change, personal brand will change your careers in future. It will decide the extraordinary careers in future. That is one reason to have personal brand. Another reason that you want to think
Mhm.
about it is, you can charge a premium, which in whichever field you are, whether you're consulting, whether you're freelancing, whether you're an entrepreneur raising money, or you are a person hunting for job. If you have a personal brand, let's say let's say you're an engineer who civil engineer who has public
Okay.
library of work on YouTube channel of what civil engineers do. You have 1 million subscribers. I'm interviewing you, and I realized that you have a
Yeah.
channel on YouTube talking about civil engineering with 1 million subscriber. Imagine the interview conversation then versus you do none of that.
Mhm.
It's a very different conversation, right? On both sides. Think you are a consultant, you are an architect,
Mhm.
right? Or an interior designer. You're an interior designer who has amazing videos on how to do interior design, or what kind of interior design you've done. You continue to put content on your Instagram. The kind of conversation we will have, the kind of charges you can charge is another level. Same way, let's think about it bigger. The t-shirts you buy,
Okay.
you pay a premium on the brand, even though it's the
Hmm.
same material, almost at times from nearing factories from Bangladesh or somewhere there. But you pay a premium because of the brand.
Yeah.
When your audience stops asking you a question, like
Brand.
they don't ask Apple, how much did the RAM cost? How much did the camera cost? Apple says, this is my phone, this is how much it costs. They don't even give discounts. Every other company gives discount. They don't even give discounts. And people still buy it.
Yeah.
Why? Brand. When people stop asking you, how much did it cost you to create?
Brand.
Okay. When people stop talking price, that's when your brand is working.
Mhm.
And that is why you want brand out of all things anywhere,
Okay.
right?
Cool,
Cost
man.
of hiring you, cost of paying you, cost of watching your content, cost of whatever it is, people, their cost everywhere, and the cost reduce for other people as your brand increases, because the value increases.
And I guess like if someone's start building their own personal brand, so at whatever point of life, even if they are into the college, they want to give the next interview for the company placement. This will going to help them if they just show their what they have done, what impact they have bring.
Correct. If it's related to your career, great. If it's not, you show it as a co-curricular,
Yeah.
right? Which makes you a far more interesting person than the other candidate,
Yeah, like,
right? I understand social media. I do this on the side. I have these kind of
yeah,
fresh
which is
ideas,
holds a lot
right?
of.
I can take initiative. If you run a YouTube channel, what that tells, and as you coming from college and you've been running a YouTube channel consistently since last 2 years, you know what that tells me as an interviewer? It tells me you can manage long-term projects without losing the sight of them and run them on time and meet deadlines. No better way to impress in an interview with
Okay,
deadlines than running a YouTube
cool.
channel. Just saying.
Even if I guess if you're like into the
Correct.
creating content related to comedy, it's completely fine. Even if like it reflects your creativity, the creative sides of your brain.
In comedy today, if you do not put out content, people will not buy your tickets.
Yeah,
How do I know who you are?
yeah,
What kind of comedy you do?
exactly.
Every comedian you hear, they again and again joke about this. You do a show, record a video, put it on YouTube, do a show, record a video, put it on YouTube. It is impossible to skip the step of recording and putting it on YouTube. It is part of their career.
Yeah,
More and more, these is creating content will become part of more people's career, especially the kind of people who are listening to this podcast who are not looking for an average career, who are not looking for just an average life, right? Those people definitely will find it impossible to make a brand or get to the goals they are trying to reach to without creating or curating some sort of content.
yeah, cool. And bro, like we have all observed that people are putting out content and they have put say for 20 posts on their Instagram, 4 to 5 videos on their YouTube, and now there's the phase they
Right,
wanted to monetize their account, and like they
right.
started contacting the PR agency. So according to you, when one can starting their account to monetize? Is there any point of
So
time?
there are two ways I want you to think about it. Okay, I wanted to think about when you monetize, who pays you. Most likely you will be doing a brand collab. Okay,
Yeah.
now let's say I am a company who wants you to do a 30-second Instagram post, and I will pay. Telling you get 5,000 rupees for that.
Okay.
Make sense? 30 seconds, 5,000 rupees. Now, most people will be like, wow,
Wow.
nice.
Yeah.
That's not a bad deal for 30 seconds.
Hmm.
But I want you to think the other side. Okay. They have contacted 100 of you.
Hmm.
Fair enough?
Yeah. Fair.
100 of you means 30 seconds and 200,
Hmm.
3,000 seconds of content.
Yeah.
In how much? 5,000 into
5,000.
100. How much is that?
It's
5
5
lakh.
lakh. Hmm.
In 5 lakh, I have gotten 30,000 seconds of content. That's
Okay.
super cheap production cost.
Hmm.
All of you, if you have 1,000 followers,
Hmm.
out of which even half are active, I have reached massive audience at cheap. What you've done there is, in my opinion, is maybe done a deal that you have sold your personal brand for cheaper. Now, I want to at the same time insert an interesting point there. This is only if you are not sure what you want to sell yourself. As
Hmm.
in, you haven't figured out what kind of. I would suggest first you figure out your audience. Then what kind of product or service would you create to sell them? And
Okay.
if you don't have that kind of service, then you look out for it and then you recommend it. If you use something yourself, you recommend it to your audience, no problem, right?
Cool.
But I would suggest avoid monetizing, right? And on YouTube channel, you want to monetize. I'm not talking about that kind of monetizing. I'm talking about brand deals.
Hmm.
Avoid diluting your brand as long as you can. Let go of it.
Okay.
The reason for that is
Hmm.
and I'm not saying because you should be ashamed of selling. No, people love when people like, there are comedians who literally create full post on selling something,
Yeah.
and people love that stuff,
Hmm.
right? I watch some of that stuff, right? But people don't like sellouts, right?
Yeah.
And the sellout, when do you become sellout? When you lose sight of your principles and go behind the money. That is why
Okay.
I'm saying, till you have figured out what you would sell to your audience yourself,
Hmm.
right? I would not take up a brand deal till that clarity comes, because tomorrow you don't want to regret it. Tomorrow you don't want to end up signing a contract which binds you, which creates you into a free content creator for that brand.
Yeah. This.
Don't let the brand which is sponsoring you get more out of your brand than you get out of them.
Hmm. Cool. I totally agree with this
If I
thing.
was them, right? So first I would suggest build that sort of thing. Do collaboration that are mutually beneficial to both, right? And there I don't mean like mutually beneficial that you only do things with, like, popular people, or I have 1,000 followers, I'll only interview people with 1,000 followers and above. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is look for people who talk about the topics you want to talk about. Look for people whose audience is the curious in the way you are, and bring value to your people so much so that people say that, hey, I wish I could pay you to get this out of you. I wish I could pay you out to get out of this, get this out of you. When people start asking you if they can
Mhm.
pay you to get XYZ stuff done, that's when you know it's time to monetize in some
Monetize.
way or the other.
Cool. Okay.
Okay,
Fabulous,
so
man.
wait till that happens. The reason is you haven't found your principles, you haven't delivered that value.
Hmm.
Trust me, you go to my YouTube channel, there are videos where people have written, hey, you should be charging for this particular service, because what I did was I read a research paper
Okay.
and made a video out of it.
Oh my
Okay, because
God.
research papers are very hard to read, people love
Yeah.
videos,
Mhm.
and people are like, this should be chargeable because people pay colleges big amount of fee to do exactly that,
Yeah.
right? That's when I know that if I ever did classes on a sequence of these series of papers, I can charge for a group class. You're
Okay.
getting the point of how I'm
Yeah.
thinking about this?
Yeah.
That now, if I don't have the time, I can sell a product. Hey, check out this book. You
Hmm.
want to do this? Check out these classes, right? And get an affiliate this thing or get any of that deal. In the deals that I'm doing with monetization, simple monetization on platform where they show ads on like YouTube, fair enough. Like you do that, go for it. No two questions about it. People don't mind that at all.
Okay.
Just to don't annoy your audience too much, obviously.
Hmm.
You want to, but in sponsor ads deals, you want to start getting when you have full confidence. This is my audience. This is how much I delivered. This is how much I charge, and you want to preferably make deals where if they benefit from you, you benefit as well. So affiliate marketing and affiliate deals per if the number of orders they get from you, deals based on those, in my opinion, are more fair
Hmm.
on the kind of value you bring to them than just a closed deal of like you do a video, we pay you 5,000, because tomorrow when you grow to 1 lakh
Yeah.
followers,
Hmm.
tomorrow when you grow to 10 million followers, that video is still there and
Okay.
it's not making you any money.
Cool. Got it. Bro, and what do you think about that if someone's going to like getting into the field of content creation? It might happen like
Right.
they are not patient. Okay. They want to get the results as fast as they can. So what do you think like being super patient is the number one trait in this field?
I agree, but at the same time, I know what the audience is feeling at the same time, listening
Hmm.
in and feeling the impatience.
Yeah.
In that case, I want you to channel your impatience. Okay,
Okay.
if you are impatient and want to see fast results, this is what you got to do: pick a social network and create
Hmm.
100 pieces of content for that social network in a day. Till
Okay.
you reach that, your impatience is not matched by your effort.
Hmm.
When you're creating 100 posts for Instagram a day, when you're creating 100 podcasts for whatever a day, or if you're a YouTuber, when you're creating 100 YouTube videos a day, that's when you are putting enough content out there to overwhelm the algorithm and to increase your chances of going viral. If you create 100 a day, in a year you will go viral.
Okay.
Okay, you just have to wait a year. If you can't do 100 a day, then the mathematics does not belong on your side, and you have to be, what we say, patient. If you're not patient, just aim towards creating more content.
Cool. Amazing, man. And at last, I wanted to ask one more question. What will be your number one advice to anyone who is just starting out, who just have an idea, wanted to execute things?
Mhm.
So, what would be your
Right.
one piece of advice for that?
I actually have two pieces of advice, if you don't mind,
Okay.
because it's a
Cool.
layered approach.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
The first piece of advice is whatever idea you have, you will have doubts about it. That's okay. You will not have all the ends figured out. How will this happen? How will that happen? Let's say you're starting a YouTube channel, right? Or you have decided you will create content on Instagram, or you have decided you will make a podcast. You don't know how you will get guests. You don't know who will say yes. You don't know how you will create, where you upload, where you do this thing. Don't worry. Okay, I can assure you, I've been blogging since 10 years. I've been YouTubing since being a YouTuber since a year and a half. I've been posting content on Instagram since longer than that, right?
Okay.
And I
Yeah.
still have questions. How do you do that? How do you do this? How will this happen? That will forever be this. Make peace with that. Make peace with not knowing how everything will work out. You try one thing, it doesn't work. You try another thing, it works. You try another thing, it doesn't, and it so goes on, right?
Okay.
Imagine if you were a child learning to walk,
Hmm.
and if you started intellectualizing it,
Yeah.
how will I balance left foot or right foot? You will never be able to walk. You just tried and you walked. That's how content creation is. If you sit and think, it is, oh, a lot of work. Editing, sound, this thing, lighting, color, typography, content, so many things.
Yeah.
No, it just, you have it in your mind. Whatever you can enjoy as an image, people will enjoy. Whatever video you enjoy, people like you will enjoy that video. If you enjoyed the podcast and having a conversation, people will like listening to that conversation on a podcast. It's
Cool.
as simple as that, right? So you don't want to complicate that stuff. You want to try things. Don't let your mind get in the way of things.
Yeah, they just need to
Second
get
tip on
started.
that. Correct. Second tip on the same line is take off the pressure. You have a vision. I know you. I know you want to be a YouTuber, podcaster, some popular person who makes good amount of money on your content, on your personal brand. But if you sit down to record a podcast with that, all of that in your head, you're bringing pressure. Okay. What
Okay.
pressure does is it activates a part of your brain called amygdala. Now, amygdala is a primitive part of the brain which is responsible for protecting you from threat, any
Yeah.
sort of threat. So, if you saw from corner of your eye, if you see a rope, and your brain is not sure if it's rope or a snake, amygdala will get activated. It will make you jump. Then you will realize why you jumped. You will not realize at that moment. First, you will jump, and then you will realize,
Nice.
okay,
Yeah.
I saw something like a snake, but it's not a snake. Then you'll calm down and laugh about it, right?
Yeah.
But it's designed to prevent you from doing things that hurt you. And
Okay.
once you create pressure, YouTube, brand, this thing, podcast, right? All this pressure becomes a threat. And when you sit down, you will feel you forget the words. You will feel you're not having fun. You will feel it's becoming so much work. The reason that becoming work, or you're feeling you're not able to pull off that recording, or you're feeling conscious, or you're sweating, is because you have brought pressure. Do a simple trick and do this like go to in front of the mirror and look in your eyes and say, I'm just going to record and see how it looks, or see
Okay.
how it sounds to me, and then I will decide if I have to post or not. And say it, like say it, physical words, it has an impact. Okay,
Nice.
another exercise you can do is, I will not move my arm and move your arm. Okay, I will not move my leg and move your leg. What this does is it tells your brain that words are not reality.
Oh my
Okay,
God. Cool.
it tells your brain that whatever you're thinking need not be real, and you can do things which you think you can't and say you can't. And these two small exercises I do often before my videos, especially when I'm feeling nervous about the topic. I make sure I do them, and it has always made me calmer and made my brain realize that the world and reality is bigger than what it is perceiving to be right now. Relax, this is a long journey. Have fun, try to find fun in it, right? You will, I guarantee you, there's so many formats today. You will find one format that is super fun to you, and then you can double down on it, triple down on it, and you will see the results. And till then, keep experimenting, don't settle down.
Cool, man. Nice, man. You literally put it in a very nice way. So, bro, that's it for mine. If you wanna add anything from your end.
No, no, I think that's all from my side, Manish. Thank you so much for having me, and congratulations on starting and maintaining this podcast. And it's phenomenal kind of work. And for listeners, if you're listening in, make sure you share this episode if you found it valuable. Write a story and tag me and Manish in your Instagram story that you heard this podcast. It really helps creators like you and all of us understand that you found it valuable, and we should have more of these conversations. And make sure you share it with somebody if you know somebody who's been thinking about this topic. But for sure, create an Instagram story right away that I'm listening to this podcast and I've just finished it, and tag me and Manish so we can know that you heard it.
Cool, man. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much, Siddharth, for being on to Modernizing Biz podcast. And I hope literally like our audience will get tons of value out of this episode, because we have literally talked about some deep conversations in this episode. So, bro, thank you so much that you spend your time.
Thank you so much for inviting me as well.
Hey guys, it means the world to me that you stay till end. I hope you get some value out of this episode. Before going, make sure you do your bit by hitting the follow and subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening it on, whether it's Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Geo7 or Spotify. Thank you so much once again for tuning into Modernizing Biz podcast.